Culture swap.
Swap my culture.
Liam,
Yes.
we did, for our Mother's Day special episode for mothers.
Yes.
Get your mum to listen.
She'll love it.
We did. She will. All mothers do, except mine.
And
We
mine.
did. I thought your mum liked 50 Shades.
Oh, I thought you meant the podcast.
Oh, no. I meant this film.
Yeah, no, my mum did like 50 Shades of Grey, but she, unfortunately, I asked her to email us why, and she refused.
Oh, my mum just said I didn't like it.
Well.
So, that's good. Our mother's input has been critical to this episode. Anyway, listeners, we did 50 Shades of Grey. We watched it.
Yep.
The whole of it. All of it.
All of it.
Good Lord, all of it.
We didn't watch the sequel.
Nope, and hopefully we never will.
Well, next Mother's Day, Jack.
No. We'll do something else motherly.
Yeah.
God. Liam,
Yeah.
what did you think about 50 Shades of Grey?
Okay. Let's start with the positives, shall we? The way it was...
Okay, I haven't really thought of any, but go for it.
I quite liked the way it was filmed. Like, I thought it was shot very nice. Like, there's certain scenes of, like, the city at night, and they, like, obviously,
Yep.
like, helicopter shots and that. Generally, the way it was filmed was very slick, I thought.
Yeah, that's fair.
Also, didn't hate the soundtrack.
I can't really remember the soundtrack.
There's a few, like, songs. Like, one of the songs, I think, is Ehle Goulding.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think she wrote it to tie into the film or something. I don't know how it worked, but that it's the scene where they're flying around, I think, in a helicopter at night, and this song is playing.
Got you.
Yeah, you know, I thought the soundtrack was good. Maybe not good, but it was alright.
Yeah, not the worst thing in the film.
I've reached the end of my positives, Jack.
Yeah, and I'll be honest,
no,
I haven't
actually,
got any.
Sorry, I also did appreciate how abruptly it ended, because I was not expecting that.
Yeah, but the
Okay,
fact that you know that there are 2 sequels. Oh, listeners, just to point out, if you want to go and watch 50 Shades of Grey and not have it spoiled, don't listen to us, because we're going to spoil it.
Yeah, it's also worth pointing out we haven't read the book it's based on.
No, and I don't think I ever will.
No, this is entirely based off of the film.
Yeah, this is just the film.
But yeah, I like, if you think, right, it's attempting to follow a pretty standard, typical rom-com formula with just a bit more sex.
I don't know if it's a rom-com.
Romantic. Oh, maybe less on the comedy, but it's trying to do a romantic story, right?
It's doing, the traditional, or
Yeah.
it seems to be leading towards the typical romance storyline.
Yeah, and the way it ends is very unusual for a film in this.
Yeah,
sort of
I would
genre.
agree with you more if there weren't 2 sequels.
Well, yeah, but you know,
Because I'm assuming, without watching them, I'm just going to assume that either in the next one or in the last one, they get together.
probably we'll have to watch it and find out.
No, we won't.
Bit of backstory for those that aren't aware: the book it is based on started as Twilight fanfiction.
Yeah, I don't know why I know that. I think you might have told me that fact before.
Yeah, and you can, like, when I was watching it, I was messaging you and I was saying, like, the character traits from Twilight are so apparent in this.
Oh, yeah.
That, like, you can tell. Like, if you're aware of that bit of information, you can 100% be like, right, that's a Bella thing that she's done there. Different name, but that's exactly what Bella would do in that situation.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. You can totally, like, just all you have to do is replace vampires with BDSM, and that's not even proper BDSM, like this film's idea of BDSM, which is a separate issue that I want to make at some point.
Yeah, we'll definitely be discussing that.
But yeah, like,
The acting was not great.
No, I don't. Are you meant to like any of the characters in this film?
I think you're right. I'm not sure. Obviously, here's the thing, Jack. This film was clearly made for like a female audience. Because
See, is it though?
well, the audience of the book was predominantly female, and I would think if you're going to make a film version, you're going to want to tap into the audience of the source material, right? But
Yeah.
again, if it is such a female focused film, I don't understand why there's been so much female nudity and so little male nudity in it.
Yeah, that's true.
But my point I was trying to make before I got sidetracked with that is I think if it's for a female audience, you're at least supposed to somewhat relate to the main character.
Yeah, cool. I didn't.
No, I didn't. But I didn't relate to Christian Grey either.
I think the only character I in any way related with was the roommate that seems to be having a normal relationship, because I was like, oh, you seem like just a regular human being who isn't...
There was her photographer friend as well.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, any character that wasn't one of the 2 main characters, I was like, oh, you seem normal.
Well, yeah. Some of the dialogue was so bad. So bad. I think my favourite for bad dialogue was when Christian Grey said, "I'm 50 Shades of up."
Oh yeah, that was so bad.
And then there's another bit where he just sort of looks up at her across a table and just goes, "I want to you into next week."
Yes, that happens early on as well, doesn't it? Like, when
Yeah.
he's starting to do all that and you're like, what are you doing?
Also, sorry for swearing, but they are quotes.
I'm still going to beep them, I think.
Yeah, but I'm saying I couldn't help it, you know?
That's fair.
The thing is, that dialogue is delivered so unconvincingly.
I think it's the issue they've got is they're doing, like you said, you know, the Twilight comparison, they're doing that whole main guy character is a cold, emotionless man, and
Yes.
the way that the easy way for a film to portray that is by getting the actor to just speak with no emotion, which unfortunately makes the act, like, because I don't know if Jamie Dornan, there we go, if he's actually a good actor or not, but from this film I would be like, you're very wooden and you don't do anything.
And I think that would be a very fair criticism.
Yeah, but then, like, to be fair, it doesn't feel to me like he couldn't act. It feels to me like they were like, that's how this character is. Do it.
And I haven't really seen anything else that he's in.
No.
And I guess this is probably his like most popular role, which is
I'd
a
assume
shame
so.
that like this is what people are going to know him for going forward.
Yeah.
Like if
'Cause
he
it
is a
very
good
just-
actor, then this is.
I mean, they're
taint.
very. They're just one-note characters. It's such a
They are.
issue.
I honestly don't know why. From an actor's perspective or an actress, sure, I guess the money must have been nice and a 3-picture deal must have been nice, but surely you had to have been aware that this wouldn't have actually helped your reputation going forward.
I do wonder, like, how much, like, whether actors, when you're, you know, if you're not a main list actor,
Yeah.
because you can't turn down stuff.
No.
So I wonder if it just gets to a point, like, because there's clearly got to be stuff that they do turn down, maybe where they're like, oh, I don't want to, you know, get typecast or whatever.
Yeah, but I mean,
I wonder if it just gets to a point and you go, well, this film is so obviously going to be big.
Yeah. That you
I
kind
can't
of-
say no.
Possibly, but I would if I was an actress and I guess I wanted to be taken seriously, I don't think I could go in a film like this, because surely like anything now going forward, even if she's like an Oscar winner in a role, it's always going to be Dakota Johnson, you know, from 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
Like I'm just looking at what else she's been in, and I've seen How to Be Single. I honestly don't remember her in it. She was in Need for Speed apparently. So the thing is, she's in an episode of The American Office. It's not like she wasn't getting roles. She was in 21 Jump Street, The 5-Year Engagement. Like, you know, they were probably like smaller roles, but you know, she has. It's not like this was her first movie.
No, yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know either, Liam.
I kind of feel bad for them more than anything.
Yeah.
And I was reading that a lot of the problems stem from the author, E.L. James, I think it is, who.
All right. Why?
On set, like sort of for some reason in her deal, she got to always be on set pretty much, and she was very protective of the script and any dialogue that she'd written from the books. So apparently the director had a lot of fighting with the author, because it's generally quite unprecedented for an author to have that much control over a film.
Yeah.
Like, normally you just hand over the licenses and whatnot. But no, she really got in the way. It sounded from like interviews and stuff I read, and the director had a real hard time.
I mean, she should have just not been involved in the film because it wasn't good.
Yeah, I mean it's not a surprise that the director for the sequel has changed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean the thing is, I can honestly say I was never like bored in it. There were bits that I had issues with, but. And I definitely would not watch this again. But on a first-time viewing sort of thing, it was fine. It wasn't boring or anything. It was just it was just bad.
I agree. Yeah, I wasn't sitting there being like, yeah, what is that? Because it is a bad film, and I didn't enjoy it. But I wasn't bored in like how I was in other films that we've seen.
Yeah, exactly. Like Blue Is the Warmest Colour, where you were just like, how are we?
Where I was
not at the end
very
yet?
bored.
Exactly. So good that it wasn't boring, but
it wasn't a good film, so I wouldn't ever recommend it to anyone.
No. So should we start talking about like the biggest issues then?
Okay, can I? I've written down 4 points about one particular scene.
Okay, go for it.
Which I think sort of emphasises my overarching issue with the way this film portrays BDSM.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a problematic portrayal.
Yeah, because I I'm not into BDSM. Not particularly a fan. It's not my cup of tea. But people who are into it, you do you. If it's what you like, go for it.
My knowledge of BDSM is very limited. It's mostly the Sunstone comic book that we're going to do one day.
Yeah, that's fair.
But it's not like I don't have a lot of personal experience with it.
Yeah, fair enough. But so this film's... It seems like the way this film is portraying BDSM, the fact that the character that is into it and is trying to introduce this girl to his world of BDSM, the fact that he is clearly emotionally scarred and has some sort of issue, it seems to me that the whole time they're trying to be like BDSM is wrong. See,
that's not the reading I had of it.
Really?
Yeah, I just think they massively misrepresented what BDSM was supposed what it is like.
Well, yeah.
But I don't think the film was saying it's wrong. I think the film tries to make it look enticing and sexy. It just fails.
Oh yeah, no, it does. But then, so the reason, I don't think I had this assumption till the last few scenes.
Okay.
Because there's a specific scene.
Yeah.
Where, and I've got multiple issues with this, not just how it came across to me, but the whole scene was stupid.
Right.
But basically, after she's sort of off at him.
Yeah.
For some bullshit.
Yeah.
She goes to him and says, I want to see you do your worst.
Yes.
And he says, oh, no, you don't. It's going to be pretty bad. And she's like, oh, well, do it. Right? Yeah. So I've written 4 notes for why I was getting annoyed here.
Yeah.
And the first one is that, this is after the scene finished. I wrote these down.
Yeah.
She asked him to show her. She has a safe word, right?
Yeah.
But after it happens, she storms off and says, you will never touch me again. So firstly, my main issue is, she didn't have to be in that situation. She could have been out of it. So I don't think it's fair of her to flip out like she did.
Okay.
She specifically asks him for it.
Yeah.
He says to her, if this is too much, tell me and we'll stop.
Yeah.
But then, also, I'm not just having a go at her because he hits her 6 times with a belt.
Yeah.
Even though it's very obvious that she does not want that to happen.
Yes.
Right? So also, he should have stopped.
Yeah.
And then I've written that, are they portraying BDSM as a sick mental condition because it's just a fetish? Yeah. It's a fetish people have. But that was, the idea that he couldn't control... there was this dark side to him that had to abuse her.
Yeah.
It felt... That was the bit where I was like, are they trying to sort of imply that BDSM's... Because she's, effectively being like, you've got to stop this.
Yeah.
Which felt wrong to me, because I'm like, no. I would have much preferred a film where the BDSM was in it, but instead of them being like, it's the problem... or part of the problem, if they had just had it as part of it, and the actual problem was he was an emotionally distant human being.
Yeah.
And he learned to do BDSM the correct way, as opposed to this, sort of weird, I can't love you because I do BDSM.
Yeah. Well...
Oh, and then my 4th point was, I don't get this film's point. I swore. Sorry about that. Sorry, people. That was, I've got that in my notes.
The other thing is, genuinely, and again, this isn't coming from a place of experience or knowledge, but... show me your worst in BDSM, and the worst is being spanked with a belt. I feel like that shows a lack of imagination.
Yes, yeah.
Definitely, there's got to be worse things.
Oh yeah, his whole idea of BDSM seems very, vanilla.
Yeah, and the other thing is,
he's almost like a little boy that learnt about BDSM as a child, and then never researched it, didn't watch any videos, and just went, I like tying people with very soft silk.
I mean, that is an issue that is raised in the film and is very quickly brushed over in that...
Yeah. What's that about? He was sexually abused as a child, right?
Yeah. But apparently...
And she's like, you still see her.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, whatever, she's friends with me now.
Yeah.
And then I don't see it. And then Anastasia's like, oh, you should probably stop seeing her, not you should report this to the police.
Yeah. So that was problematic. I think, the issues I have with how this film portrays BDSM, the entire, fundamental concept of BDSM, as far as I can understand, is it is all about mutual trust and respect. That's the fundamental basics. That's how it works.
You have to trust.
Yeah, that's why you have safe words and stuff put in place. But essentially, it is an exercise in trust. And again, from what I understand, the dominant person, they derive their enjoyment from pleasuring the submissive. Well, it's not all about pain, right? There's an element.
No, you're
pain.
right, but it's also not. The pleasure isn't derived from giving them pleasure or pain. The reason that a dominant is dominant is that it's the idea of having not control, but being in the dominant situation. That's the so the pleasure and pain parts of it are part of the like control system, effectively.
See, I would have thought that the appeal of being dominant is the idea of, one, it's probably quite thrilling to have someone kind of give themselves over to you in such a way. So I guess there's that level of responsibility involved with it.
Yeah.
Again, I think responsibility is a key thing, because one of the appeals of submissive is giving up that responsibility.
Yeah.
But I personally think it is not just about that control, but how,
no.
how
It's
you
definitely.
use it.
I'm not saying it's just the control, but that is the core, because that's why. So looking at it from the opposite perspective, a lot of okay, I'm trying to reason through my thoughts here because my brain's doing that thing where it's trying to make like 3 different points. Okay. So you've got, if you look at it from the other perspective of a submissive, a lot of the time people that are submissive are like you not always hear, but a lot of like big business people who have that responsibility in their day-to-day life. They enjoy giving it up in this role as a submissive, right? So that's like you said, responsibility. But then another side of it is that oftentimes, and I know this because I read a Reddit thread about a man who discovered his wife was into BDSM, so that's where I know this knowledge from. But he's like, people talking to him were like, not a lot of the time, again, I'm making big statements, which I don't mean. Some of the time, people can experience BDSM without having any sexual pleasure in the actual act itself, because they won't be doing something sexual. So, and they won't be doing anything pleasurable for the submissive either. But it's because they're giving, I think the responsibility is the main thing. So I don't think the pleasure and pain...
It's definitely an element, though.
It's part of it, but I think it's more the idea of being in a situation which you are not usually in, sort of thing.
Yeah, but I think like the pain is generally used as a way to emphasise the pleasure.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is I don't think we get it, because we
only have like a very limited amount of knowledge about it.
But from what I've heard people saying and talking about it, I think it's more the control and the roles you're in than who's getting pleasure. Do you know what I mean?
But what I'm saying is, I feel like with this film, it doesn't give you an accurate or even remotely good portrayal of BDSM. This film,
no, 100%. This film didn't teach me anything about BDSM.
No, and sure, it's not necessarily the responsibility of the film to teach you that, but I think it is the responsibility of the film to show it in a fair light, which they don't do. Basically, this is a guy who completely abuses BDSM and his role of a dominant person in it to get what he wants. The way I saw this film is basically Anastasia Steele, all she really wants is a traditional relationship. She doesn't actually have any kind of interest in BDSM. From the impression I was getting, it felt to me like she was saying, I will do this, but
because I want to be in a relationship with you.
Yeah, in return, we need to do normal datey things like going to the cinema and stuff. Now, that isn't a good kind of foundation to build a BDSM relationship on, because I think both parties need to be 100% willing to try this in a responsible way.
Yep, I agree.
So it's just a horribly skewed representation of BDSM. And the way that it's shown in the film, to me, I just don't think that's accurate.
No, I definitely think they did a really terrible job of portraying that aspect.
Yeah, because it all seems to be focused around him more so than her. It doesn't seem to be like a fair, even trade.
Yeah, no, not at all.
And the thing that then would worry me about this is, if someone watches this who doesn't have a lot of knowledge of BDSM, they're going to think that's okay. That's fine. BDSM is basically just entirely giving yourself up to someone and letting them do what they want with you, which isn't what BDSM is about.
Nope.
So that was an issue. And again, like we touched on earlier, just obviously I have no personal issue with the amount of female nudity in this film, but I'm also not in the target demographic, and I just don't understand why you would have so much female nudity and so little male nudity. Again, it should be even split, right?
Yeah, that does seem weird that there was such a focus on...
there's not even a penis.
No, that's true.
And I get that, showing erect penises is a bit of a no-no in films.
Yeah.
A film like 50 Shades of Grey kind of needs that.
The balance.
Yeah. You need to see a penis.
Well, we didn't, but yes, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I didn't come out of it saying, I wish I'd seen a penis.
I did.
Okay.
Because I just think that would have been a better film if we'd seen a penis in it.
Sure, Liam.
Well, it would have been fairer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just there's a lot of issues with, and we're probably not the right people to be pointing out these issues because of our
I
lack
think
of knowledge.
the fact that we saw the issues, like,
yeah, but okay. So what worries me
in and of
then?
itself.
What worries me is if people who like this film, because surely it's done well to get a sequel, right?
Well, I mean, here's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Its rating is 4.1 on IMDb, which is below average.
Yeah.
Its popularity has dropped, even though the next film's coming out. The third film's coming out at some point soon.
But I can tell you, like, so let's take my mum for example. She's not going to watch this and then go on IMDb and rate it.
No, but that's so. Here's like, I don't know. I don't think it's, you can't put something like this out into the world and say, well, it's not for you, because the issues that we've got with this film that we're talking about right now, aren't. It's not like it's not their thing. Do you know what I mean? It's not their target audience. Right, they're talking about something that the world has. There's this. There are people that are into BDSM. That's a thing.
Yeah.
And it affects the portrayal of their fetish.
Yeah. And
to the rest of the world. So this film can't then we can't then say, well, our opinion's less valid because it's not aimed at us. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but I'm not saying our opinion is less valid. If anything, like the fact that us who don't know a lot about BDSM can see that it's not a fair portrayal, I just think we're maybe not the right spokespeople for that. There'll be people with a lot more education and knowledge who can point out more accurately where it's gone wrong.
Yeah, 100%. If we've got listeners that are into BDSM, if you're out there listening to us, don't snort.
Well, no, I'm just thinking, like, do we then have to, like, if you want to email us, we'll maybe like make your name anonymous if you want.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Email us. Let us know if you want to keep your name anonymous. That's fine. But in all seriousness, if you know more about the world of BDSM and what the sort of like core concepts are and stuff, let us know, because I find that shit interesting. Like learning stuff about things like that,
especially when it has been so inaccurately portrayed. It would be very interesting to see the flip side. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to hear someone tell us what their experience of that world has been.
Yeah,
and why this film portrayed it so poorly.
Yeah, but honestly, it does worry me that the film, people would go to see this film and just think that's what BDSM is, and that's okay.
I don't think they would, though. I don't think anyone would see this film and go, "Oh, that's what it is, so that's what I should do." Because here's the thing: you would only do that if you wanted that. Like, I don't watch films and go, "Oh, that's the way that is, so I should do it."
No, but
so the only people that would have that experience would be people that were like, "Oh, I'm okay giving myself fully to it."
But surely,
and then you can't say to them, "No, don't."
The success of this film lies in the fantasy of it, right? Like, if anyone was to like this film, I would imagine it's because they like the fantasy of being Anastasia Steele, finding their own like Christian Grey, and going on this journey, right? Like, that's got to be, if you like or don't like the film, would have to fall into how much you buy or don't buy into that fantasy.
Yeah.
And the fact that the book is so popular and the film, it did good box office, surely there's a lot of people then that like that fantasy, and if they like
here's the thing. I think it's less the fantasy of it. I don't think the people that are enjoying this are thinking, "Oh, maybe I should try BDSM."
But maybe
they're watching it and it's the escapism.
Yeah, that's
but
possible.
But Liam, the things that I like watching involve elves hitting each other with swords, but I don't want to then go out in the world with a sword and start hitting people.
No, but if
what you are doing, Liam, is the inverse of what adults have done to us as kids. The video games make you violent. I don't think this film is affecting anyone's sexual life. It might make them a bit more experimental.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't think any wives went home to their husbands and went, "I want you to beat me with a belt."
No, but I do think it would, like you said, make people a little bit more experimental. Like, I was watching a program a while back. It was either when the film or the book came out, and I remember because Portsmouth came up in the program, and they were talking about how after the book came out, there was a huge increase in sales of sex toys and stuff, which is great. Yeah. Like, one of the things I really appreciated about the book is that it's always felt to me like in society, men are allowed to talk about sex and fetishes and that sort of thing, and women, the way it seems to me is they're kind of not really given much of a platform to have that discussion on. Well, and the book seemed to open that up, and suddenly, like, women were talking very openly about sex and non-traditional sex, which is a great thing.
Even then, Liam, when you say men can talk about sex, I think that I don't think they can. I think society as a whole, Western society, has real issues with sex. Not men and women, the whole of our society.
But it's
because men can talk about sex, and they do, to each other, which is the issue. So women are probably doing that as well, but it's behind closed doors, because we're very, as a society, we like to hide the fact that people are having sex.
But I think it's generally just known that men like porn and like wanking. Like, that's just a thing that isn't necessarily discussed.
See, but there's an issue with that in that it's not like men have got the right to do it and everyone's okay with it, because the idea that men are sex mad creatures is perpetrated by our society as well, which is also not a fair representation of it.
No,
so I don't think it's that women are being penalised. I think both sides have got this sex is a real fucked up problem in the Western world, that we view it as this weird thing that men adore and women are meant to be frigid. And in reality, everyone's in the middle, where people like sex and sexual stuff, and it's okay to like it. And guess what? Some people don't, and they don't have to, and it's all fine.
But what I'm saying is, it seems like it's more okay for men to, like, have that image and talk about it. And it's like, I disagree let me finish my point, though.
I think men would be shot down if they were to, like,
Well, if I can get to the end of my point, then we can discuss it, okay?
Okay, fine.
I'm saying, I think that it's just generally assumed that men watch porn, and that's okay, and it's also generally assumed that women don't. And that's totally, probably incorrect. Like, surely there's women that watch porn. What I liked when the book came out is it felt like we were making steps to changing these attitudes. Like, suddenly, this book allowed... Like, women were going on chat shows and stuff, talking about it and talking openly about sex, which we hadn't really got a whole lot of before. And I appreciated that we had something that was doing that. It's just a shame that the thing that has opened the gate for that depicts it in such a flawed way.
Right. So, the thing is, Liam...
Yeah.
This isn't porn. 50 Shades of Grey isn't porn. It's borderline.
Well,
you could make the argument for it being porn, right?
The film is,
but that's not. So that isn't balancing. That doesn't balance the world of porn, because women still aren't talking about porn.
It's not. If anything, porn, this book encourages just about discussing that sort of thing.
Right. So let me ask you then.
Yeah.
What TV show and chat show have you seen where men openly go on the chat show and go, "Yeah, so the kind of porn and fetishes that I'm into are this"?
It's generally.
I think you're blinkering yourself by assuming that because you talk to your friends about porn, that all men do,
I think,
and that women don't.
If you look at comedy, for example, like panel shows and stuff, it'll be discussed on that sort of thing in a very
women are on those shows as well.
Yeah, and I do not think they have half as much of a discussion as men do.
I think you're generalising on such a horribly unrealistic level.
This is just what I've seen in my life. Yeah,
and I'm disagreeing with you.
Yeah, maybe
there are so many female comedians that make sexual jokes.
They do, but not in the same way.
So here's my thing, Liam. I think that I don't think you're like wrong or being bad, but I think you're evidencing what society's making you think, which is it's not that women don't talk about sex and that men do talk about sex, and that's the issue. It's that society wants you to think that. Society is trying to make you think that women don't talk about sex and trying to make you think that men do talk about sex, but in reality, everyone does. I don't think women are being oppressed or that men are being whatever the opposite of oppressed is about sex. I think you're just falling into Western society's view that all sex is weird to talk about. Like,
it's possible.
I think that's the problem. I don't think the problem is that women haven't had a way to speak about it and that men have. I think it's that society doesn't want anyone to speak about it, which is why only comedians do, because the whole point of comedy is they go against society and make these jokes. The reason they're funny are that they are not what you're expecting people to say.
Yeah.
I think that's the real issue. The fact that, like, you can show someone being decapitated in a film, but sex and stuff like that gets you high ratings. Yeah, that's insanity.
It is.
Whereas in some Eastern cultures, it's like the other way around. Like, the violence is the worst thing and the sex is the okay thing, because they're like, well, yeah, everyone's having sex.
Yeah, although, is it Japan or somewhere where you're not allowed to show pubic hair?
Yeah, no, but Japan has very different reasons for it. I did read into it once, and I can't remember. It's not pubic hair. In Japan, all, like, the vaginas and stuff are blurred out, as are the penises.
Right, okay.
They've got, like, this is something to do with America. Not... That sounded like I'm blaming the, like, nukes and shit for porn. But there was some weird tie into that, and I can't remember what it was.
Okay.
But I read about it once, and it was quite fascinating.
Yeah. To wrap this up, I wish 50 Shades of Grey was more responsible with the way it depicted BDSM.
I just wish they hadn't made this film.
I wish they had made it. I just wish they'd made it better.
I could do without this film existing.
Because if this film had been exactly the same, but it had been an accurate portrayal of BDSM, I think that would have been a good thing.
It would have, but I still think it would have been a boring film.
But it wasn't boring.
A bad film.
Yeah. I mean, you might want to cast people who actually have chemistry with each other and can act.
Make a character that isn't just one note the entire time.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you could do better.
Maybe don't play the age-old storyline that damn it, I swore again, that we're bored of, which is woman meets man that she needs to fix.
Yeah, I mean...
So, at this point, that is such a rote story.
Yeah.
Like, writers need to come up with better stuff.
Yeah, I think, in all honesty, all of the issues with this film can be traced back to the writing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
To me, like, this film definitely feels like E.L. James is basically going, if I was Bella and Edward was real, what would I let him do to me?
I really got confused there where you said Bella, but now I've realised.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Twilight is better.
Yeah, it is.
Significantly.
If you want to watch this film, go and watch Twilight.
Yeah, which doesn't touch on BDSM at all. It has its own issues.
Vampires.
Definitely has its own issues with like stalking and unhealthy relationships.
Oh, 100%.
But it's definitely better than this.
Yep.
So why is it, do you think, that these films, and I think you're probably going to want to argue, but I think you can say that Twilight and 50 Shades of Grey are more aimed at a female audience than a male audience.
Yeah.
Why do you think both of them at their core have an unhealthy relationship?
Well, I think it's the issue that's... It's a tricky subject.
Mm.
But again, I think the issue is that society wants people to act certain ways as well. And one of those ways is the idea that it's a woman's job to fix a man.
So do you think these films sort of perpetrate that stereotype?
Yeah, 100%. Because I think younger girls went to see Twilight and were like, oh, they're right. I need to pick the sort of bad guy who's ignoring everyone, and I need to fix him.
Yeah.
And this film is aimed at an older crowd who go, oh, I wish I had found a man with problems that I could fix. And like, in reality, that's not what a relationship should be founded on. It should be equal. Everyone's an equal member in the relationship.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's why they make them. And I also think it's an issue that they make films like this.
Definitely. Especially, like, do you get... And this isn't like me sort of trying to lead you in a certain way, I'm just genuinely asking. Do you think you get as many films aimed at men where the focus is an unhealthy relationship?
I think the traditional way that they portray an unhealthy relationship for men in these sort of romantic films tends to be the old relationship where the man will have had a crazy ex. I did air quotes there, listeners.
Yeah.
Because that also annoys me. Again, I think it's just the way that society not wants people to think, but how society has been.
Right.
And that plays into it. And it's not necessarily the right thing.
The other thing that proper bothered me about 50 Shades of Grey is how I don't think you'd have this film if he wasn't wealthy. And it's yet another example of how basically if you have enough money, you can get away with doing whatever you want. Because imagine, right? Just imagine.
No, but again, you're buying into it. You're buying into the idea of this. Because I agree. I want you to make your point, Liam, but very quickly.
Yeah.
Again, it's not that you can do that. It's that is the perception that society has.
Well,
I want to make it...
And also that's what this film is trying to say.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But that's what I mean. It's the idea. Even though that isn't true, if you are filthy rich, you can go to jail. That happens. But society has this idea that if you're rich, you can get away with shit.
Yeah, imagine this film, if she meets Christian Grey, she goes for the interview, she meets him, and she's just having a nice little chat, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm into BDSM, if you're interested, I live with my parents, I'm in the basement, I've got it all set up with some kinky stuff, come over, Mum will cook us dinner, and then we can get some BDSM going on in the basement. Like, it would have...
That would have been a much better film.
But
But yes, you're right, it doesn't... Yeah, it wouldn't happen.
It's just,
as in the film wouldn't have been made with that.
Yeah,
premise.
and again, it just comes into this. It's such an unhealthy attitude towards sex, towards like money. Like, oh, if this guy's super rich, yeah, let him spank you with a belt. Why not? He's rich.
Yeah, this whole film is up, Liam. It's 50 Shades of up. I've got to bleep so many times there.
Oh God! How would you give it out of 5?
1.
That's fair. I've probably gone a bit high, but I've given it 2 out of 5 just because I wasn't bored. I liked the ending, and to be honest, I kind of am curious what happens in the next one.
Well,
I'm probably
going to
hate it,
and then let us know.
Yeah, I will probably hate it, but I am curious.
Yeah, I can only assume it doesn't get better.
It can't get a whole lot worse, though, can it?
Oh, I can only imagine.
So, Jack, what are we doing on the next episode?
Well, Liam, on the next episode, we are going to be doing Before Sunrise.
Do you know anything about this film?
I know that you like it.
So that's all you need to know, really, to turn you right off of it.
No, Liam, don't forget, I'm not like you. I don't go into these films with preconceived ideas.
Okay.
Except for 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah. Just remind me, like this. Okay, this is not a mumblecore film, but remind me what your issue with mumblecore was again.
My issue with mumblecore was that I was like seeing a week of this dude's life and it was boring.
Okay, cool.
Is this film a week in someone's life that's going to be boring?
I don't think so, but
Okay.
I also like mumblecore.
Yeah, I know.
And I think some of the stuff I like most about mumblecore you could maybe see in this film, but it's not a mumblecore film.
Okay.
I'd like to make that super clear.
Okay. I know that they'd made sequels to this, like 10 years apart.
Yeah. We'll discuss that on the next episode. Don't look into it, because I don't want to spoil anything.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what we're doing. If you've seen Before Sunrise, why don't you send us an email, send us a tweet, message us on Facebook? How could they do those things?
You can tweet us at nerdonnerd. You can email us at nerdonnerdpod@gmail.com. The Facebook is facebook.com/nerdonnerdpod. And, I mean, if you go on the Twitter, you can find links to all these things. They're everywhere. Oh, and, of course, you can go on YouTube and watch this show broken up into segments or listen to the whole show. And how do they get to the YouTube, Liam?
If you just search Nerd on Nerd, all one word, it should get you there. If it doesn't, add in Fleshlight and see if that works, or is called a Fleshlight, something along those lines. If you're really, really, really struggling, go to our Twitter account. There'll be a link to it in one of our tweets. Click it, and then subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you'll never miss another video.
Way.
I will say now, we're a bit behind, because obviously me not having internet for a week has meant I haven't been able to edit or upload the video like I would like to have done by now. So, yeah, I'm going to be busy when I do get my internet back.
That is a good point. You're going to have lots of fun.
I will. But yeah, the other thing you could do is maybe leave us a review on iTunes.
Yep.
5 stars.
5 stars, please.
And some nice words. Like, if it's a really nice review, as those who listened last week would find out, we'll read it out.
Any final thoughts, Liam?
Happy Mother's Day. I hope you all treat your mum right.
My mum is the best mum. Bye!
My mum is a better mum. Bye.
Cutting that bit out.